My swashbuckling adventure through the Bible came to a complete halt this week. A user by the name of MBS8 emailed me a book, and I was ecstatic. My proposition to this point has been that all the evidence points to Hellenized Judaism and the Septuagint from 300 to 100 BCE. This book puts forward exactly the same proposition, though in a much more clear and concise manner and with far more evidence. I've only managed to read through the first few pages, and already I'm at a dead standstill, fascinated by what I've missed so far. The primary difference between where I'm at and where the author is at is that the largest part of my approach has been working backwards in time from around 200 CE. The author approaches the subject in both directions, revealing some information that would have been difficult for me to find. Again, a great big thank you to NXBT for stopping me in my tracks to consider the evidence presented in this book. I really appreciate that. While I'm absorbing all this stuff, I figured it would be a good time to summarize what I have so far, characterize my methods and motives, and give a great big thank you to everyone who has asked questions and provided information. I have two motivations here. My primary motivation is to find out what ancient people thought. The 2,000-year difference between modern humans and these ancient people is truly vast and really cannot be overstated. 2,000 years ago, we're talking about the story of what it means to be human, and I have to love that. I find modern religion to be a really bad copy of ancient thought. So in this quest, I generally ignore modern religion. My self-imposed cutoff date is around 400 CE with a few exceptions. I approach this subject as if the religions died in 400 CE. What came after this point is largely irrelevant to what I'm trying to find. My secondary motive here is to date the first codification of the Bible. That ends up being something I just wandered into and decided I'd go ahead and take a crack at it. Modern scholarship has the tendency to avoid Hellenized Judaism like the plague, primarily because everything falls in line here. If it were proven that the Bible cannot be dated earlier than the Septuagint, the theological repercussions might be truly massive. They are afraid of this period, and if I believed as they do, I'd be fighting hard to stay out of this time frame. The time frame provides far too much clarity, and it cannot be good for Christian theology. It's theological poison. My methods rely heavily on text. Take Philo of Alexandria. He talks about how the Septuagint was created, how it was God-inspired, and how it was ordered by one of the Ptolemies for the library in Alexandria. One thing is certain with Philo's statements. The Septuagint existed in some form. There are a few other aspects of Philo's statements that sound plausible, but at this point, I've only bought the Septuagint's existence from him. That's how difficult I'm making this on myself. I do wander into speculation, but on the evidence, I'm hypercritical. And so far, the evidence I've collected looks something like this. I mark evidence as tradition-based or evidence-based. If I have serious doubts about a date, I leave question marks. If it represents the earliest possible completion date, I leave plus signs. Every time I find something that is evidence-based, far more questions are posed than are answered. So while I have collected some evidence, I have far more questions than I had when I started out. I can easily see where scholarship of this type would lead to a lifetime of study, and since I apparently find something fascinating about all this stuff, I don't see my quest ending anytime soon. Which leads me to the thank you part. Initially, my intention was one video describing a king's list in Revelation 17. One single video. 60 or 70 videos later, and it's absolutely your fault. Your encouragement, questions, and answers sent me on this quest. You guys piqued my fascination with this stuff. I don't have the answers. I didn't have too many answers when I started out. Mistakes have been made, and because this is a work-in-progress adventure, I'm leaving the mistakes intact so that others will not make those mistakes. I find this stuff fascinating now, but I couldn't care less a few months ago. You guys did this, it's your fault, and thank you. I really appreciate the input. It's amazing how just a few comments can fuel a complete thought experiment. A few months ago, I would never have expected to be here talking about the Bible. I'll make the mistakes, that's what getting to fact is all about, but I'm very grateful that you guys are around to help me repair those mistakes and to provide clarity. This has been a wild ride, it's all your fault, and I've loved every bit of it, and I'm coming back for more. This isn't anywhere near over.